All right, happy 2024, happy new year. Hope you're having a great day with your family and friends. And of course, if you spent this bear market not getting to one Bitcoin, you don't deserve to have a happy new year. It's just a new year for you, just another day, because again, you've prioritized other things above getting to one Bitcoin and securing your progeny's future, which means that your priorities will end up being their punishments, which is exactly what all of our mine and yours, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents' decisions turned into us, and you've decided to move that forward. And I'm talking about if you're living in a G20 nation here, right? I'm not talking about if you're living in a third world nation. There's probably another amount of Bitcoin that makes more sense for that. I'm talking about strictly those people who have the ability to live in a G20 country, get to one Bitcoin, have chosen to go out partying, to go out and get drunk, to go out and spend money on bullshit rather than getting to one Bitcoin as a matter of urgency. New year to you. Happy New Year to those who got themselves to more than one Bitcoin during this bear market. I'm proud of you. I hope you're proud of yourself. And you deserve the work that you've put in. Now, I want you to subscribe to this channel because 2024 has started. It is the 1st of January 2024, and we are going to get into the most exciting time for Bitcoin this year. And I want you to subscribe so you don't miss out any videos. You don't miss out my Bitcoin ETF updates. You don't miss out the updates that I give regarding how institutions are navigating to try and get as much capital as possible into their funds. I don't want you to miss out on any of that, so you understand how not to get taken advantage of the institutions and their marketing and everything else, and you understand what's really going on. So please subscribe to that, please share the videos, and we're not going to stop just because it's 2024 and the ETF is around the corner. This video is about my 2024 predictions. You obviously saw the last video, which I did on my 2023 predictions, and that was pretty accurate. I think most of you guys rated it basically like 85%, so that's good. I appreciate that. Here's what I think happens in 2024, and we'll end up seeing, and I'm putting this out on video this time, which I didn't do last time, and we'll see how accurate this comes true. So you want to subscribe and see, as we go along through the year, what sort of happens here. A lot of my Bitcoin ETF predictions from last year were absolutely correct. They were just made, after BlackRock filed for the ETF. So they didn't really count from the beginning of 2023. Anyway, 2024 predictions. Number one, the spot Bitcoin ETF will start trading in Q1. Now, this has become, if you're following Bitcoin, this is not going to sound like a great big deal to you. If you're in TradFi, this is, and you're in real estate and you're in everything else, this is going to be surprising to you. I think we will have an active US spot-based Bitcoin ETF start trading in Q1 of this year, right? Prediction number two. I believe that Bitcoin will exceed $100,000 by the end of 2024 if that spot Bitcoin ETF starts trading in Q1. Prediction number three. I think that there will be a Federal Reserve rate cut in the US by Q2, right? So when I say by Q2, I mean like by the end of Q2, there will be a rate cut in the United States. The economy is at a point where it cannot handle what the Fed has done here. And again, for those that are paying attention, this might not sound too crazy to you, but for everyone else, this is going to sound nuts. And so that's prediction number three. Prediction number four, I believe the Fed balance sheet will resume the expansion path, and I think that will scare a lot of people because they think the world is going to end, etc., etc. And I don't think that's going to happen. Prediction number five, the U.S. 2-year rate will fall below 2.5% this year, and it will guide the Federal Reserve rate down to that sort of level too. Prediction number six, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ will have 15% plus up years for 2024, year to date. They will hit at least 15% up over the year. This one's going to get slightly controversial for those people because I don't really like talking about my political thoughts and this, that, and the other, but I do have political, opinions on what's going to happen. In the U.S. election is this year, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. All of the candidates that started off looking like the quote-unquote fringe candidates have turned out to be exactly that. I wasn't a fan of any of the fringe candidates in the United States, and of course all of their numbers are collapsing at this point. So prediction number 7 is this: if President Trump is not the nominee for the Republicans, or Gavin Newsom is the Democrat nominee, I predict a Democrat win for the U.S. presidential election. That is going to shock a lot of people, but in recent times, a Democrat president has not lost, a second-term election. So I think that is going to be quite a controversial one for a lot of you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Number 8, I think the DXY, the dollar index, will fall below 93. And I think that's extremely important for the economy and the investment markets and everything we're going to be facing. A couple more predictions here than last year, right? So prediction number 9, out of gold, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and Bitcoin, real estate will be the worst performing asset of 2024, and I will measure that as a result of the price appreciation on VNQ, which is the real estate ETF. There will of course be certain real estate that is going to outperform everything, like beachfront property, etc., etc. But on the whole, using VNQ as the benchmark, I think that real estate will be the worst performing asset of 2024. And that's going to shock a lot of people, but I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And prediction number 10, the total inflow into all of the aggregate spot Bitcoin ETFs will exceed $25 billion in year 1 of trading. And I think that's an interesting one as well. I think that's also going to catch people off guard as well, because I think the Hunger Games, I actually had that at 15 billion, and I added another 10 billion once I saw in my last video, you saw the ETF war having begun, with Fidelity coming in with a 0.39% fee. That happened a lot faster than I thought. So I added to that amount. So those are my 10 predictions as to what I think is going to happen for 2024. A lot of people are going to go, this is, a lot of this is obvious, but that's only obvious to you because you're actually in the space. For most people, they don't think an ETF is going to start trading. They don't think Bitcoin's going to exceed $100,000 in 2024. They don't think we're going to see rate cuts. In fact, doom and gloom boomers think that the rates are going to 15%. Right? I think we're going to see a rate cut by Q2. Just like last time I said there will be some form of easing that happens, I'm telling you right now there's going to be a rate cut by the end of Q2 here. Number 4, the Fed balance sheet will resume the expansion path. Number 5, the US 2-year rate will fall below 2.5%. Number 6, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ will have a 15% plus up year each. And number 7, the one that I think is going to get a lot of people riled up, if President Trump is not the nominee for the Republicans, or even if he is, if Gavin Newsom is the Democrat nominee, the Democrats will win the U.S. presidential election. Number 8, the DXY will fall below 93. And number 9, out of gold, S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Bitcoin, and real estate will be the worst performing asset of 2024, and I will measure that based on the performance of VNQ, which is the real estate ETF. And number 10, again, the total inflow into all as a total of Bitcoin spot ETFs will exceed $25 billion in year 1 of trading. These, all of these predictions are here, and they should be terrifying the hell out of you, because if you're sitting around and you haven't managed to get to 1 Bitcoin yet, you've got to start seeing how much capital is going to start flowing in this direction, and it's not a small amount. So if you're starting 2024 and you haven't gotten to 1 Bitcoin, or you haven't gotten to the allocation that you want yet, because you might have a few $1 million in real estate and you can't even bring yourself to take a $40,000 risk, you're going to be finding yourself taking a $100,000 risk once the ETFs start moving. I mean, just to put things into perspective, even if we just look at the $300 billion of demand that ex-managing directors of BlackRock, etc., are turning around and saying, right? It's like 150 to $300 billion within the first 3 to 5 years. If you think about all of that, you're talking about $192 million a day of purchasing. And if you just factor in the amount of Bitcoin that are coming out after the halving, so not even including right now, you're looking at a price just to satisfy the demand based on coins that are actually just being mined of like $460,000 a coin, and that's in April. That's the beginning. Or I have to check, but it's like the middle of April, right? Like we're stepping into Q2 here, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a demand shock. We're talking about a supply shock. We're talking about all these things that are coming, and then on top of that, credit markets are going to loosen up. Capital is going to start flowing, etc., etc. If you have not gotten to one Bitcoin, or you have not gotten to the allocation that you wanted, you are going to screw yourself, and you are going to regret it, and you are going to turn your priorities, whatever they may be, whether it's going out and getting drunk with your friends, going out, traveling, etc., around the world, rather than focusing on the fact that you have a bunch of wealth, that you need to actually protect it for the next generation, and you need to secure it for the next generation, and what that involves, because the next generation is not the past generation. Your priorities are going to turn into your next generation's punishments, and that is the saddest thing that anyone could do, because if you are focused on success, you've been privileged to create success. Instead of being an alcoholic, it's better to figure out, how do I actually protect the assets that I've created in case the thing that I've been doing doesn't work out anymore. That's what's going on here. This is a tectonic shift. This is the first time an asset has been securitized in the United States since mortgages in 1930. A scalable asset has been securitized. People say, oh, but art was securitized. It's not a scalable asset. I'm talking about a scalable asset like mortgages, like equities, like bonds, etc., etc. Or like gold. And this is the first time since the 1930s that an asset is getting securitized, and the demand is going to go through the roof. And you're going to be sitting there wondering why you didn't get to your one Bitcoin when you had 2 years of the deepest bear market we've seen outside of 2008. Even while the economy's been good, the market's been going down, which is a huge advantage for those people who have an income, because the asset prices are coming down. You have an income to take advantage of the asset prices coming down without your income being affected, because your income is not linked to the stock market directly or to asset prices directly. People that are rich had to refinance or whatever, generate some liquidity at the right time to take advantage of the price decline in the assets. But if you're working and you have a business and you got cash flows and you still haven't done it, you're on the verge of missing the opportunity, because this next cycle, 3 months away, 4 months away from a halving, we are going to price out the middle class. We're now heading into low single digit millionaires that are going to be priced out in this next cycle. So those are my overall predictions. Write them down, bookmark this video, subscribe to the channel, because you can hold me accountable to see what my predictions are and how they come true. But I think we will see $100,000 plus Bitcoin this year based on everything I said. You can go back and look at it, and I'll actually copy and paste my predictions into the description of this video too. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think doom and gloom boomers are in for a massive surprise. I think the $1,000 net worthers are going to realize they don't know what they're talking about, so they're going to start talking about something else. I think the $10 a month DCA gang is going to get left behind, and I think the happy hippies are not going to know what the fuck is going on, because they don't generally know what the fuck is going on. They're too busy being high. But ultimately, despite all of that, there's still, even in 2024, only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.